All right, folks, welcome to NET 110, Week 1, Lecture 1. Now, I'm pre-recording this video. I don't have access to the class yet. This is for the spring semester, but I'm recording the introductory videos. You can see the date and time here. I'm just going to click on one of my existing courses to just kind of show you the layout of the way that I use Canvas. So my name is Mike Kelly. I'll be your instructor. I have an instructor presentation and things like that to go over with you. But I want to point this out right away. If you're taking this class, most likely you've taken classes at LTRI-C previously. Excuse me. So I don't want to spend a lot of time going over this, but I do want to make sure that you know how to get signed in and how to navigate courses the way I lay them out. Now, I've been teaching for 24 years. This is my 30th year in IT, but I've only been at LTRI-C. This is my second year. So professors you have had in the past, professors that you will have in the future, they'll probably lay their courses out a little differently than I have. Now, generally, every class I teach has a Start Here module, and it'll have the syllabus. We'll go over it. I'll have a, hey, nice to have you here, type welcome letter, and then just some brief introductory text from me. Some classes I teach have projects, others don't. Most classes I teach will have some PowerPoint decks, not all of them. Generally speaking, I'll put all my PowerPoint decks in their own separate heading. And then I also, when we get to the specific weeks, if I have a specific PowerPoint I want to go over, I'll list that one here for you. Now, some of your other professors, like I said, they might make more effective use of, say, like the assignments link and things like that. And I most certainly ask you, to check that link often. Dates will be listed here. However, because I've not mastered all the nuances of Canvas, this is not, I don't design my Canvas courses with this page in mind. Usually what I do and what I suggest that my students do is you go to modules. I always teach from the top down. So when you open up, it'll say week 1 here or module 1, right, depending on the course. And because I teach from top down, these are the items we're going to cover this specific week, and these will be the due dates and the point values. You should never have to ask me what's due this week, because if we're in week 1, this will be due next week. Now, my general rule of thumb is I will give you a date. It is due on September 2nd, and then I'll give you a week's grace period. So this assignment will remain open for 1 week past the due date till September 9th. You, however, will lose 10% of the points per day. If you don't turn it in by 11:59 p.m., 1 week after the due date, Canvas automatically fills in a 0. Now, I tend to try to be as lenient as I can with extensions. I know, extenuating circumstances and all these things. On the other hand, if I give you 1 week to 1 month to get something done, and you wait till the last minute and then complain to me, well, my internet went out last night, I'll be less likely to say, sure, I'll give you an extension, right? Because that's exactly what would happen to you at work. Your boss gives you a deadline and you miss the deadline. Your boss is most certainly going to say, oh, that's okay, right? Give you a pat in the back and send you on your way. Okay, so I try to be flexible. On the other hand, right, we're all adults here. You have timelines to meet. Okay? It's your job to plan out your time sufficiently. Okay, so for those of you who are brand new, just very quickly, go to my.ltric.edu and it will bring you to this page. You, of course, are student, faculty, or staff. I'll try to sign in here. Now, it might ask me for multi-factor authentication. I don't know if or when students will be required to do this, but it might ask me for, it's going to ask me for this push notification. I'll get notified on my phone. So if students happen to need MFA. You're going to need to download the Okta application on your phone. And then you have to verify that, yes, not only do I know my password, I also have the phone. Okay? And then you'll come over here to Canvas Online Courses, right? And then you're going to browse. Now, your desktop will look a little differently than mine, of course. These are the classes I'm currently teaching. These are classes I'm developing, right? Whatever. You'll pick our specific class. You'll click on the link, and that will take you to this page. Okay? Now, my view, of course, in Canvas looks different than yours. Okay? So I can try my best to simulate what you folks will see when you're signed into my course. Some items I don't publish. So if I'm sharing my screen with you and you see things in Canvas that you don't see, look to the right of my screen, right? If I leave student view. If you see a green circle with a check mark, that means that this is something that I've published. You should be able to see it in your version of Canvas. Something with a white circle and a slash through it means that I can see it here. It's a reminder that I have something to put together to give to the students, but it's not ready to be published yet. So again, just to reiterate, I always teach from top down. I will always start with a Start Here module. Generally speaking, I like to put all my PowerPoint decks together. But like I said, I'll put each individual PowerPoint in the week that I'll be covering it, right? Assuming I'm going to be doing PowerPoints that week. And then I teach from top to bottom, right? What's due this week? Okay, open up week 1, right? Look at my headings, right? If I have an assessment that I'm going to give you, I'll tell you it's a quiz, it's a test, it's the midterm, it's the final exam. It's worth X number of points. Okay, so your job to be looking at this. Okay, generally speaking, I will not send out reminders. Okay, that's your job. Okay, so that's Canvas in a nutshell. But while I am here, let me show you 2 things. Hopefully someone else has told you about this, but just in case. From your My L-Tri-C page, student resources, an alphabetized listing of everything we have to offer. Support services, financial aid if you need counseling, the Cougar Claw, combining L-Tri-C in the workplace, I think the acronym stands for. Get your resume sent over to student services if you haven't already. Let them mark it up, make adjustments. Let them help you create the resume that's going to give you the best shot at getting gainful employment once you graduate from L-Tri-C. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of student resources, under technology resources, there are 2 things specifically I want you to be aware of. I'll kick off Student Remote Desktop and I'll kick off Office 365. Okay, now, I don't know why I hit the middle mouse button to open them in separate windows and they just take me back to that home page. So let's try it this way. Okay, so apparently when you design a web page, if you automatically force this to open in a separate link or a separate window and you hit the middle mouse button, it opens this page in a separate tab. So these are the applications, right? So student resources, tech resources, and I'm under the MS Office 365. Now, again, your page will look different than mine. I don't even know what half of these things are. Okay? I don't ever use them. You should have the Office 365 student portal. Okay? And just seriously, I have the Okta plugin browser, so let's do this instead. Let's just go to office.com. Okay, this is where Office 365 should bring you. Now, because I'm signing in, oh, that's right, I'm in a private browser, that's why. So let me sign into my personal OneDrive, my personal Office. If you aren't aware of this, hopefully you are, you're going to gain access to the applications in Office 365 that L-Tri-C subscribes to. So again, your window here might look different than mine. But as long as you're a student at LTRI-C, you get access to Office 365 for free. If you've ever purchased Office to install from a DVD or downloaded it, an ISO file, you know, right, if you purchased it, how expensive it can be. Well, Office 365 through the college is free. I'll click Word, I'll click New Blank Document, and while the Word client is a little less feature rich than the locally installed application, you can type, you can change styles, you can print, you can left, center, and right align things, right? Most of the stuff you are going to do with the desktop version of Office is available to you in the web client. Okay, so you do have access to at least Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. I can't speak to Outlook. OneDrive you should have access to. If you're not making use of OneDrive, please do that. If you have never heard of it, don't know how to use it, I'm happy to have a separate offline discussion with you. Just let me know. Okay, the other item I want to point out, student resources, technology resources, student remote desktop. You're going to sign in with the part of your email address before the @ sign. And you're going to use the same password that you use to log in to your LTRI-C stuff. And again, your desktop might look different than mine, but this is the only thing I'm concerned with. Do I want to allow my clipboard for copying and pasting? Do I want to be able to print things I would be doing? And, excuse me, mostly the answer here will be yes. So I'll click Allow. This will take a minute to spin up. While that's spinning up, I'll close that tab. This is going to connect me remotely to a Windows machine on the LTRI-C campus. You don't have to be on the LTRI-C campus. You can be anywhere that you get internet from. So home, at Starbucks, at McDonald's. You could be hanging out at Sheets, whatever the case may be. Items that you work on in this Windows environment get saved, right? These are text files I've typed up for previous classes. It works just like your Windows computer at home. So if you have a Mac, a Chromebook, right? If you don't have access to great hardware, as long as that hardware you do have can get to the internet, you can get to this. Now, this is an instance of Windows Server 2016, which is fine. All the things you need to do for class should be able to be done from here. Now, not just classes I teach. Are you taking a statistics class? SPSS is here. Are you taking CIS 105, right? Access, Word, Excel, blah, blah, blah. Taking graphical design, video editing, right? All the Adobe things are here. You have access to this as long as you're a student at LTRI-C. No need to buy software, no need to install it on your computer at home, right? That's up to you if you want to use this or not. No harm in doing so. Like I said, you can save your work here. Generally, I'll save mine to the desktop, but you can save it wherever you like. And when you're done, click on the Start button, click on your profile pic, and I'm going to sign out, and that should close me out of this. So student resources, excuse me, technology resources, student remote desktop, and Office 365. Okay, so I'm gonna hit you with this. Here comes the first slide deck. Ugh, everybody loves slide decks, I know. I love putting them together. I love reading verbatim off the slides, and I know that all my students love when I read verbatim off the slides. Nah, I'm just kidding. So my name is Mike Kelly. Note the spelling of my last name, okay? Because my email address, of course, is tied. I can't believe there were 3 other M. Kellys before I started. Okay? I worked for LTRI-C as the network supervisor on the administrative side for a number of years. But that was, oh my goodness, that was 12, 13 years ago, whatever. So this was my email address back then as the network supervisor. If you have questions, comments, criticisms, you need to get in touch with me for some reason, always email me. Okay? I have worked at LTRI-C. This is my second year. I have an office in TC 216. I'm rarely there. I have had this phone number with this extension my entire career at LTRI-C. Never set up the voicemail box. If you call this box, there is a 100% chance I'll never hear it and a 0% chance that you get a return call, all right? Always email me, but do please make note of the spelling of my last name. Okay, so like this is a template I brought over from another class. Like I said, I don't have access to the content in Canvas yet, and I cannot set up my own courses in Canvas. So I'm borrowing a slide deck from another class. So you can ignore like most of this stuff. Okay, a little bit about me. Okay. For the last 4 years, my full-time day job, I am a customer technical engineer for Microsoft. I do Active Directory, Windows Server, excuse me, Windows client work. In that order. Okay, so I am what Microsoft considers a vendor escalation engineer. So if you work for a company, if you've ever had to call Microsoft support and you get the tech rep on the phone who can't help you with anything, but asks you a whole bunch of questions, has you run a whole bunch of commands to gather information about your computer, and excuse me, you send those things off. I'm the guy who gets that stuff afterwards, right? If the help desk guy can't help you, they reach out to me and my team. So we are the level 3 engineers for Microsoft. So although the odds are small, there is a potential chance that I've talked to one or more of you or dealt with your company, right, if you had to call Microsoft for support. Okay, so like I said, this is my 30th year in IT. I'll be graduating from Kutztown University in May of 2023 with my master's degree in computer science. I've been taking one class per semester for, it seems like, forever. I'm glad to be finally finishing up, but I'll miss my time as a student. In addition to that, I do other duties as required for the Blue Mountain High School Athletic Department, public address announcing, running of the clock, collecting stats. I do that part-time, of course, during the school year, and I do this part-time. Outside of teaching computer stuff and spending my days working on computer stuff, I like to go to the gym, like to work out as much as my old body allows. Not so much anymore because I'm getting older and broken down, but this is me. In 2018 or 2019, I can't remember which, my favorite thing to do in the world is run obstacle course races. Spartan races being my first choice. Usually I work in the morning doing something, and then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when they let the volunteers run the course for free, so I don't ever pay for races, but this is me carrying a 60-pound sandbag up a black diamond slope at Palmerton, Pennsylvania. What you didn't see was about 10 seconds after this, I got to the top of the obstacle, dropped the sandbag, dropped to my hands and knees, and I just like collapsed, laid there for like 3 minutes to gather myself. I love running these races. They don't love me back. I've suffered some pretty horrific injuries, and time permitting, I'll share some of them with you. But I can't quit. I just can't stop doing it. Every year since 2017, in October, I fly out to San Diego. My oldest son was in the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps has their own version of a Spartan race. And instead of guys like me volunteering and working the day, helping racers and, things like that, it's Marine Corps drill instructors that work on the course. And let's just say that they're really good at motivating you to run faster or dig a little deeper than you thought you had. You didn't have any reserves left. 3 kids. My oldest was in the Marine Corps. My youngest was in the Army. My daughter, my middle child, she was in the Air Force. Now they're scattered to the winds. They live all across the country. I use Spartan races in and about where they live as excuses to go visit them. I like to visit each of them once or twice a year. But so that's a bit about me. The last thing on this slide I want to point out are these things called badges. Now, I don't have it listed here. I have Microsoft's Networking Essentials badge. It wouldn't fit. And plus, what the heck? I took Networking Essentials in 1999, 2000, whenever it was. Then I took the CompTIA Network Plus exam a few years after that. I took these exams so long ago that I've been grandfathered in. Those of you who know about IT certifications know they generally expire every 2 or 3 years. I took my CompTIA A plus exam in 98 or 99 so long ago that I'm still considered A plus certified, even though now if you take A plus, it's good for 3 years and that's it. Network Plus is the same way. I think it's still good for 3 years. My Microsoft Certified Trainer, I have to renew that every year. My Azure certifications, AZ-104 specifically, I have to renew that annually. So I've been a Microsoft Certified Trainer for, I think this is my 3rd year. And I've been an Azure Administrator. This is also it actually expires this year. So yeah, it has been 3 years already. I'm going to harp on this until you're blue in the face. I teach this class towards you getting CompTIA Network Plus certified. Now, I'm not allowed to say this is a certification preparation class because technically it isn't, and I'm not licensed by CompTIA to say that. But I teach from a book that is licensed by CompTIA that touches on every concept you need. And between the things in the book, the things from my own experience, and the external work I'm going to assign you, you're going to touch everything that you need to get this certification. And it will behoove you to get this certification. One of the things I like to say to every class I teach, there might be 10 of you in this class, there might be 30. Okay, let's say that you all graduate at the same time. Why would I interview you over your classmate? Why would I hire you over your classmate? Well, let's be a little more honest about that. Penn State Lehigh Valley, Reading Area Community College, Northampton Community College, Harrisburg Area Community College. Even Berks Technical Institute teaches hands-on certification preparation classes. If you are the one out of the 30 folks in your class that has this, and I'm hiring for a position that needs that, the odds are your resume is going to make it to the short list, and I'll call you in for an interview. Right? Otherwise, I'm looking at 30 resumes. Your names will be different. And, obviously, some of you might be a couple years older than others, etc. But what do you have to offer me that the other 29 folks don't, is what I'm trying to say. And if the answer is, I don't have anything to offer you that my classmates don't, odds are you're not going to get interviewed. Okay, I'm sorry, but it's, especially in IT, there are so many people out there looking for work, you're going to have to do things to make yourself stand out. If we were meeting in person, this is where I'd ask you to stand up at your desk and give me the high-level 30-second interview or 30-second recap of who you are. Okay. One of the things I also encourage you to do, it's not really going to be a part of this class so much because it's online, but practice public speaking where you can. Practicing public speaking makes you sound competent and confident, hopefully without sounding arrogant or over the top. Okay. That can really enhance your interview skills. If you can sit in front of a table of men and women my age, and we're peppering you with questions, and we're trying to, find like the little kinks in your armor, and we're trying to find holes in your game, so to speak, and you can think quickly and calmly without a lot of ums and ahs and right, a lot of that stuttering kind of speech that makes you sound like you have no idea what you're talking about, and that you're easily rattled. In IT, if you are easily rattled, I would strongly advise you to look at another career field. You're going to get dumped on from the president of your company all the way down to the man or woman that you report to, your direct supervisor. You're going to be in the middle of projects that you think are the most important thing, and some jerk in the accounting office who signs the checks is going to have trouble starting the Excel shortcut. She accidentally deleted the Excel shortcut or can't remember where she saved that spreadsheet. Your boss is going to come down in a panic. I call that the Chicken Little syndrome. He'll be screaming, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Drop your project, run over to accounting and help her with her Excel issue. That is something that specifically happened to me. And again, time permitting, I'll share the details of that story with you. But as a level 3 engineer at a former job, I had a manager come down and say to me, and I quote, well, I'm not going to say the exact quote, I don't give an F what you're working on. Get your effing ass up there and help her with this Excel issue. The email server crashed about 20 minutes later. Okay? If you're easily rattled, this field is not for you. Okay? Especially at the levels 1 and 2 where you're answering the phone, okay, and you're dealing with customers all day long. All right, so what are we going to talk about? Well, obviously we're going to talk about networking. A lot of this is going to be theory. I apologize for the slides. Right? I'm not a huge fan of teaching from PowerPoint, but if I'm being honest, sometimes that's the best way to get information across, number one. Number two, you can download the decks afterwards, even if you don't attend a specific class, and you can look at the things I speak about. Now, the slide decks I'll be using, I hate to do this, but it's the best way, in my opinion, to do this. The book that I teach from comes with a whole bunch of slides. Now, I'll go through the slide decks, and if a slide deck is 100 slides, I might only cover 20 of them or 30 of them, and I'll ask you to review the decks on your own, that kind of thing. I don't need to read to you verbatim. Okay? But we're going to talk about, what a network is. We're going to start with that. What is a network? We're going to talk about the bane of my existence and why this should be something that every one of you strives to perfect. Proper documentation should be number one on your list. You can tell me that your opinion is different and I'll listen to your opinion, but deep down, you're not going to convince me that I'm wrong. I'll tell you some actual stories about what happens when documentation is missing and things break. Okay, we'll talk about bus, ring, and star type networks. We'll talk about IP addressing. I'm going to introduce you to a concept called subnetting and CIDR, classless interdomain routing. We'll spend some time on this. You're going to have to learn how to count in binary. You're going to have to learn how to take class A, B, and C IP addresses and break them into smaller chunks. Okay, that is probably, arguably, the most difficult thing we'll talk about. Arguably, the second most complicated thing or difficult thing will be the amount of rote memorization, ROTE, rote memorization you're going to have to do. This is an essentials exam. It's a lot of theory. It's a lot of tell me all 7 layers of OSI, starting with layer 4. Okay, tell me 6 protocols that work at layer 3 of the OSI model, right? You're going to have these things memorized to take and pass the actual certification exam. So we'll talk about local area and wide area networks. We're going to focus pretty heavily on TCP, UDP, and IP. Okay, these protocols. Segmentation is going to blend nicely with subnetting, right? We'll talk about collision domains and broadcast domains. We'll talk for 3 seconds about, coax cable and Cat3 Ethernet cable, but we'll focus more on Cat5e, Cat6, 6A, and 7 cables. We'll focus more on fiber optic cabling. You're going to have to look at pictures of the fiber optic cable ends, ST, SC, LC, etc. You're going to have to memorize what they look like because you're going to be asked questions on a test that you're going to pay $358 for. I think it's still $358. We'll take a look here in a minute. We'll talk about wired and wireless networks. We'll talk about switching and routing. We'll talk about basics of network security. Now, this is not meant to be a certified ethical hacker class, so we will not get into the weeds, but an understanding of port security, spanning tree, and some other things, MAC address filtering. And finally, no computer class will be complete without talking about DR. You have a disaster recovery plan, right? Oh, you don't? What the heck have I been telling you for the last 10 weeks? Okay, we're going to hammer that. You're going to get sick of hearing me say it. Okay, so we're going to go to this link here in a minute. CompTIA is going to give you some information about the test, including its cost. Okay, I'm going to review the syllabus with you. That's going to contain the ISBN number you need, but the slide deck includes the link for the book specifically to this class. And I have to talk to Professor Miner about getting Test Out set up for our class. I have watched a demo of Test Out. I've never used it here at L-Tri-C, but it incorporates very nicely into Canvas and very nicely into the things we're going to be talking about in this class. Okay. Excuse me. And once my Canvas shell is built, I have to talk to the gentleman who runs our Canvas program. I'm going to post 2 assignments, 2 10-point discussions. If you've had me in previous classes, you know my first 2 assignments are always reply to this message. Introduce yourself to the rest of the class. Right, that student introduction slide from earlier, I'm going to ask you to answer all those questions. And then there's another one where I'm going to give you a 5-point scale. How much networking experience do you have? Right, and it's going to start from I invented Cisco all the way down to, wait, I thought you spelled computer with a K. Right, so you've got lots of experience, you've got no experience, or somewhere in the middle. Okay, and that brings us to the end of this particular deck. Okay, and I'm done with this one. So let's finish out this first part of the lecture. I know this is an online class, and I don't normally teach online classes, so I'm not exactly certain. Does my lecture have to be 1 hour or 2 hours? I have to talk to Professor Miner and Dr. Trahan about that. But so I'm waiting for my Canvas shell to be built, and then the gentleman who runs the program, he'll give me access to it, and then I can start populating it. But Test Out, I have, like I said, I've seen a demo of this. It's pretty slick. So I'm going to sign in. Now you can see I don't have any classes here, but I can show you what I'm hoping to get you access for. Now this might be something I have to put in the syllabus. I don't know how this works, and I don't want to misspeak, but I believe that if I attach this Test Out program to the course, that's an additional bookstore fee you have to pay. But I am 100% certain if you can get this through the bookstore, financial aid will cover it. Okay, so again, I have to talk to Professor Miner about this just to make sure that I am on the up and up. So let's come back to this in a minute. Okay, if I go to course and textbook search and I search for courses, remember my last name is spelled Kelley because you can search for spring 2023 classes with my name, and it will bring you to this page. This is the link that's in the slide deck I just showed you. Okay, you can email the bookstore at ltric.edu for questions, but this is the book that I'm teaching from. Okay, now, I have not taught from this book specifically, but I have taught out of many Cengage books, and I can say that I've always had good success with them. The Cengage books come with a lot of pre-populated labs that the instructor who previously taught this class has probably done all the linking and embedding and all of that stuff. So you'll just log into Canvas, you'll look at the assignments from Cengage, and you'll just complete the assignments. Okay, and this is some information about the book. Okay, this is the certification exam that we're prepping for, N10-008. Now, this is the test number for the current iteration of CompTIA's Network Plus. That number may change. So we're going to take a look at that here quickly. But let's finish the test out piece. So if I click here, I have completed some of the assignments, right? I'm trying to work ahead. Okay. So just quickly, I hope it doesn't take too long to load. Here's what the test out environment is going to look like. In fact, let me go back one more. This is a simpler lab. You're going to connect HDMI cable from a monitor to a computer in a simulated environment. Now, again, I've not taught from this type of lab environment before. Normally, we'd be meeting in person and you'd be doing this, but it works. You don't have to have access to a whole lot of hardware. The scenario is here. You need to add a monitor to Office 2. So here's Office 2. You need to use the HDMI cable to connect. You need to plug the monitor in. You need to plug the keyboard and mouse in. Then you need to boot up the machine, right? So if I come in here, right, and I go to Office 2, I can see I've got the computer already connected. Let me shut it off. So this is actually pretty slick. Okay, so I can start over, or let's see, I'm going to try something here. Instead of clicking start over, there we go. So I get a virtual computer, front, back, and some of the labs are going to have you adding memory. The second lab has you adding 2 network interface cards, one to a PCI slot, one to a PCI Express slot. Here I've got my hardware here. I can see what cables I have. So I can choose the back of my computer. I can plug my HDMI cable in. There's a HDMI port. Now I'm looking for, my monitor should be showing up over here. I'm not sure where my monitor is. Oh, there it is. Sorry, I have to click it first. Cables. I'm going to bring that down into my work area. It's unconnected on both sides. I'm going to click and drag it to my computer. Now, I don't have sound sharing turned on, but it played a loud snap in my ear when it did that. So if you're wearing headphones, just be aware that it does play sound. Okay, I don't know if I can, there we go, drag my monitor up there. I've got my HDMI cable plugged in to the computer, but not the monitor. So if I flip it around to the back, you can see I've got DVI, HDMI, VGA, and power. Okay, so let's see, partial connections. HDMI is connected to the motherboard. The other end, left click and hold, drag it to the appropriate. Let's see what happens if I try to plug it into the wrong port. Okay, I played it, went sound in my, can't connect to the monitor. Now I'll left click and hold and I'll plug it in correctly. Now connected, great. Power cord. I want to plug the appropriate, okay, this is called the female end. My apologies, but that's legitimately what it's called. Drag and drop that to the power connector. Drag this to the wall. Okay, now I'm plugged in power. I'm plugged in video. Am I missing something else? Partial connections. My power supply. What am I missing? I'm not going to mess with this because I don't think I have to, but those of you who have ever built your own gaming computer, this should look pretty familiar to you. You've got a power supply with some power connectors. Okay, yeah, this is connected. Okay, but I've got some unconnected items. I'm not going to mess with that. Okay, so let's flip the screen around. Let's turn the screen on. Can I turn the screen on? There we go, no signal. Let's turn the computer around. Let's power the computer on. And give it a second or 5. The fake Windows will boot. All right, it didn't say anything to me about, because I forgot that, didn't I? I forgot. Let me see if I can do this. Let's flip this back around. Let's do input devices. Let's do mouse. Can I do mouse and keyboard? No, I have to do one at a time. Let's try to plug the mouse into one. Let's try to plug the keyboard into the other. Now, again, those of you who have built computers before, you know that I can plug USB devices in while the machine is running. Okay, when I first got started, no, that wouldn't work. You'd have to turn this off. Okay, now let's see. Can I click? Can I type? Okay, I should be good to go. Okay, and let's score it. 6 out of 6. Okay, now, if you ask my honest opinion, is this as good as doing the actual work with your hands? I would say no. But that's, you might feel differently, and that's okay. Right? When I got my started, like, this stuff hadn't even been invented yet. Okay? I was an undergrad at Penn State in 1989, right? So I've been doing this a long time. But anyway, there we go. So this test out, as far as I know, has not been built into my class yet. But I'm going to talk to Professor Miner about getting that done, because there are a whole slew of videos to watch and labs to do and items to read. Okay, now some of these items I may assign you for homework. Hey, read this over and then answer these 3 questions, you know, stuff like that. And I'm going to try to base my questions similarly to the way that CompTIA is going to ask you their questions on the test. Okay, and then I think the only other thing I wanted to go over with you, I want to review the syllabus. Now, the dates, right, I'm still working on this, right? I don't have the calendar for the spring semester yet. So these dates will be wrong. There will be other dates listed here that are wrong, such as like holidays and things like that. Don't worry about, this is not the final version of the syllabus, is what I'm trying to say to you. Okay, but I want to talk to you about the important things in the syllabus. Go to here to get to the bookstore. Email bookstore@ltric.edu if you have questions. Okay. Dr. Trahan, a couple semesters ago, she asked that we start making sure that you folks know that this is a service available to you. Let's say that you have an issue on campus with a faculty, staff, another student. And I'm not talking about, I didn't give you an extension to your assignment. I'm talking about threats of physical violence, actual or potential sexual assault, harassment, things like that. Okay? Obviously, the police would need to be to get involved for certain things, but the ombudsman here on campus, you can go to this office or go to this website or call this number. You can write up your concern. You can do this anonymously. You can give your name. Okay? Now, we've not walked through a scenario like in a faculty meeting or anything where this is how it looks to students. So I've not seen this before. But if something totally egregious happens and you want to make that available, or you want to make that known to someone who can do something about it, open an investigation, call the police if necessary, you know, those kinds of things. The ombudsman, that's who you want to talk to. Okay? Also, don't forget LTRIC does have security on campus. Okay, so you can call the security office too if it's something involving violence or threats of violence, right? You know, please don't let, right, make use of this service if it is appropriate. The college has a policy about withdrawing and you getting money back. Now, I'm not certain what the exact policy is, but if for some reason you need to drop a class or withdraw from school, you must follow the written procedures here in order to get a potential refund. Now, there's a date after which, if you attend classes after this date, you can withdraw all you want. I might give you a W instead of an F, and that's okay, right? Because a W doesn't count against your GPA, where an F would. But also, if you know that you need to drop or withdraw. Do so, if possible, before the date that will be listed here, and then you can get a partial or full refund. Right? If you just stop coming, L-Tri-C is going to think, you paid for it, and we get to keep your money. Okay. Now, unless you have lots of spare cash just laying around, right? Just follow the procedure here, if you have to. The early alert program, a lot of this depends on me. I have 3 jobs, and I'm also a student at Kutztown. What I'm not going to do to you is treat you like children, right? There's a part up here later on in the syllabus that talks about attendance. I'm going to talk about it right now. Because we're meeting online, if you send me an email, or if we happen to be like the whole class gets together on a Zoom call for test day or something like that, you can come in 5 minutes before the end. Drop a note in the chat window, hey, I'm here. Or come in within the first 5 minutes of starting the class, drop a note in the chat window, hey, I'm here, and then just leave. I'm going to mark you present for the whole time. I have neither the time nor the desire to, you left 15 minutes early, minus 15 minutes. You showed up an hour late, minus 60. I'm not going to do that. So generally speaking, in my classes, unless you miss the whole class, I will mark you absent for that. Excessive tardiness, not for me. Excessive absences, well, yeah, that's a possibility if you just don't show up. If you're an A student up until the midterm, and then all of a sudden you just stop doing homework, you're turning in tests where you're scoring Fs, the early alert program should help let you know, hey, if you don't turn this around, things are going to happen. Now, where I come in, I check your grades in Canvas every time I give an assignment. Every time there's a due date, I'll wait until the day after the due date, and I'll look in, I'll see, okay, who turned it in, who didn't turn it in. I won't send out reminders unless a significant number of you start missing a significant number of assignments, which if you're listening to my video lectures, you shouldn't, because I'll always start class by saying, hey, don't forget these 3 things are due this week. And I'll always end class by saying, hey, don't forget these 3 things are due next week. Okay, we're all adults here. It's your job. Check Canvas under modules, see what you have due. Okay, if you reach a point where I think, you're going to score a C or lower, I'll send you a private email. Hey, is there anything I can do to help you? Okay, your job to read the email and get back to me, right? If the assignments are difficult or not worded properly, they're confusing to you, it is your job to let me know. If you wait until 3/4 of the way through the semester and you go to Professor Minor, you go to Dr. Trahan, you know what they're going to tell you. Have you asked Mike? Okay, you can call me Mike or Mr. Kelly or Professor Kelly. You call me what makes you feel comfortable. I've been called worse than those 3 things, so you just call me whatever you like. It's fine. But Dr. Trahan will say to you, have you talked to Professor Kelly about this? And if your answer is no, she's probably going to email me. Hey, so-and-so came to see me, said they're having problems. The first thing I'm going to do is reach out to you and say, yo, what the heck? We're in week 9 and you're just now telling me? Okay, we're going to try to fix it, but don't let it get to that point, okay? So don't make use of this. Get your assignments done on time. If there are extenuating circumstances, please let me know. I will try my best to work with you. Don't wait till 2 hours before an assignment is due to start it, because what if your computer crashes or your internet goes down? Okay, those things will set me off. Oh, you didn't turn in my homework because your internet was down for the 2 weeks you had to do it? No, you waited till 2 hours before it was due. Then you started it, and then your internet crashed, right? Then you and I are going to have what I call a come to Jesus meeting. Okay, where I say, I try to talk to you about time management and, how you need to, try harder, right? I'm going to get all over your case about that. Academic honesty. Every test, homework assignment, lab, quiz that you get from me, open book, open notes, open internet, open resource. You can ask your classmates for answers. You can go on Google. You can log into a website like Course Hero and look for answers to assignments. No problem at all with that. As it relates to academic honesty, the only thing I will ever lose my temper about, if I ask you to go to, you pick 3 websites and you tell me about the latest Windows patches, whatever, and you copy and paste text from someone else's site, put it in your paper, and you don't cite that source, I'll give you a 0 on that. And I'll go to Dr. Trahan and tell her, maybe we ought to consider kicking you out of school. Okay, that's the one thing I'll take seriously, right? At work, what I do, if my boss says to me, Mike, I need you to do X, Y, Z, and I've never done that before, I can go to Google. I can talk to my coworkers. I can reach out to my peers in the IT field. Hey, have you folks ever seen this? So that's why I don't care if you use other resources to assist you. Now, my tests, etc., will be time limited. So if you don't study at all, there's a high likelihood you won't be able to answer all the questions in the time limit given. You're going to run out of time, and then you might fail the exam that way. If you fail one of my exams, I'm going to have to ask you privately, how did you fail an open book test? And if your answer is, well, because I never studied any of it, okay, then I'm just going to shrug at you and kind of move on. But if I ask you to turn in a research paper or look something up on the internet, yes, and I do this in my classes as a student at Kutztown. I'm constantly writing papers for classes. My professors always go to this site, tell me what you think. Go to 3 sites of your own choosing and write this up. We have very strict rules about citing your sources. Do not claim someone else's work as your own, which is what you're doing if you copy and paste without giving credit where credit is due. Okay, that is one thing that I'm sorry, but I won't tolerate that. Okay, yes, you can ask each other for answers on the test. I don't care. But if you steal something from Wendell Odom, who writes the Cisco books, and you don't quote him on it and cite him on it, okay, well, I think I've beaten that horse to death. Turn it in. We're not going to make use of that. If you're a military veteran, and you haven't talked to Mrs. Bartholomew already, here's her number, here's her email. Touch base with her. Any questions you have about services offered to military vets. Even if you don't know what services we offer, email or call her and ask her. Okay, she'll send you a long list of information. Hey, we offer these 10 different things for veterans. Okay. If you're a student who has a permanent or temporary disability, talk to Mrs. Ladley. Okay? She's in the science hall. I don't see her phone number here, but you can go over to the science hall. You can email her at this address. Let her know. Oh, here it is. Sorry. There's the phone number. Whatever your disability or impairment is, have trouble walking, have trouble seeing or hearing, the support services staff will do everything they can to accommodate you, right? Whatever issue it is that you have, temporary or otherwise, okay? So please make use of that if necessary. You're having issues at home with a domestic partner. You're having issues at work. You're not working enough. You're not getting paid enough. You're food insecure. You're not feeling warm and fuzzy about life. Okay, reach out to Counseling Center at ltric.edu. Okay, counseling services, right, are available. I want to say that if you call the office after business hours, I don't know that anyone is on call. So I don't know that if you call at 2 a.m, I don't think they'll answer you. But if you email them, I'm pretty sure somebody will get back to you straight away. Okay? Don't let things that are bringing down your mood, affect your life to the point where you think you don't have anywhere to turn or no one to talk to, right? Reach out to the counseling center, whatever the issue is. Okay, obviously it's going to be as anonymous as you want it to be, and hopefully, you can work with that counselor and they can turn it around. L-Tri-C has success coaches. Some of them are faculty members, I know, because I volunteered to be one. Some of them are students. Now, if you come to me and say, I'm having issues in your class, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is, do you mind reaching out to your peers? Right? Number one, I'll be 56 years old in March, so I'm significantly older than most of you. Number two, the reason I said that was because I think you might have a better rapport with other folks your own age. Number three, right, because this is my third job, I may not be able to meet with you except very limited windows. That might include Sunday mornings at 5:30 a.m. Unless you plan on being up at Sunday morning at 5:30 a.m., your odds of reaching out to one of your classmates, hey, can you help me with homework from last night? You're going to have much more success. Okay. Obviously, we have a library on main campus. Not only can you check out books, you can check out laptops. Whoops, I hit the keyboard there. If you have access to subpar hardware, don't have access to a computer, or don't want to use your personal computer for whatever reason, you have to get to the library relatively early in the semester. Tell them you want to borrow a laptop. They'll let you check it out like you check out a book. I do believe you get to keep the laptop the whole semester. And then you just do your work on the laptop. But also don't forget about the student remote desktop. You can use that too. If you haven't signed up for L-Tri-C's alert program, you can. You give them your phone number. An automated system will call you and or text you. Now, obviously for online classes, unless the power at my house goes out, we're going to have class. I may pre-record lectures, because sometimes my job keeps me busy 12 or more hours a day. So even if we were scheduled to meet in person, odds are really good that I won't be able to make it. But I will always try to pre-record videos. Okay, I don't like to cancel class unless it's absolutely necessary. Okay, and then just very quickly, and then we can wrap this up. NET110. The only prerequisite is CIS 105, and I believe everyone has to take that in their first semester. Now, I might be wrong about that, but if you haven't taken CIS 105 previously, talk to your academic advisor. Okay, don't worry about these. Again, these dates are not correct. Here's a review of my email address. This class is worth 3.5 credit hours. Okay, here is the description from the course catalog. And here's a summary list of the things we're going to be covering. Yeah, it's a short list, but trust me, there's a lot of things to cover. Okay, and then lastly, once I get confirmation I'm allowed to use test out, excuse me, I'll put the link here. But this is actually the book that we'll be using. Good grief, sorry, my nose keeps running down the back of my neck. And I know I said that was the end of it, but I want to make sure. I wanted to show you one last thing. Did I close the... I did. I closed the webpage already. So let's go to CompTIA Network Plus. I wanted to show you just very briefly the test information. So we'll go to, even though it says add, it's a CompTIA test. I'm going to go to CompTIA. Oh, I can go to this one. I was going to click on the top one, but what the heck if it takes me right there. Okay, sure. Let's accept the cookies. Okay, here's an overview of the test. Do take note of new versions and retirements of old versions. The exam details. $358, like I said before. Now, that is expensive. I've never paid that much money. When I took my A plus exam, it was about $200. And that was expensive back when I took it. But $358. Oh, okay. 3 years is how good it's going to, how long it's going to last you. Wow, that's a lot of money for. Listen, here's what I tell all aspiring IT people. If you want to do, I don't care what it is, like you want to be a server administrator like me, or a Cisco networking professional, a virtualization or development or cloud professional, you might have to pay for one exam. This one exam might be the thing that sets you apart from everyone else in your class. Yes, you might have to suck it up and pay this amount of money for a test. That's a lot of money. But now you have a job that's paying you hopefully a little more than what you're currently making. Hopefully the job doing this is less physically taxing, right? I've had former students who worked in construction for years and their bodies were just broken down. Okay. Now I sit on my behind much of the day, which is obviously not good for your neck and back, but I'm not out there lifting concrete blocks for 10 hours a day either. Okay. Here's the information about the test. Max of 90 questions. Multiple choice and performance-based. The performance-based questions are like the test out scenario I just showed you. Okay. 900 is the max score. You have to score a 720. Now, this is not a percentage based. Some questions are worth more points than other questions. Now, I have never gotten confirmation that whether this test is standard or adaptive. Now, many tests I've taken in the past have been adaptive. If I get a question on Ethernet cabling wrong, the next question will be about Ethernet cabling. If I get that question correct, the next question will be slightly more difficult, but also about Ethernet networking, right? And those slightly more difficult questions in an adaptive type test are where you can score more points. Here, I believe the test, there are just maybe 1,000 questions in a pool, and they just pull 90 at random. You'll have 90 minutes to get this test done. Okay, lots of stuff to cover. Okay, and with that, I think that's all that I wanted to cover with you today. Okay, so I'll stop here and thank you for your attention, and I will talk to you all in the next one.